morning. Good morning. First of all, thank you, Robin, for all your wonderful organization. You are superb. And thank you for coming after that very early morning arrival. I'm impressed. And for our music as well back there. Wayne, thank you. My name is Delene Purley, and I'm chair of the Healthcare Interest Group at Allen Avenue UU Church in Portland. The other people in the service today are some of the members of that committee. Carol Larson is chair of our Social Action Committee and also on the MUSAN Healthcare Committee. MUSAN, in case you don't know, is Maine's UU State Advocacy Network. Jim Purley, my husband, is on the Maine All Care statewide group, working to get single-payer universal health care in Maine, as it is being worked on in other states, such as New York, California, Maryland, and Ohio. There are some brochures out there on the table for you to pick up if you'd like. You will learn about the other participants in our service as they do their portion. This is the fourth time we've done the service, the other two being at our, well, it was our own church first, and then we went to Saco, and then Auburn, and now here, so thank you so much for inviting us. The inspiration for us is the book, The Healing of America, by T.R. Reid, and we stayed with some very nice people last night, and they happened to have it on their table. They had already read it, so that was nice to see. And others have mentioned it to me as well. I have 2 copies for sale if you like. This is one of them, and the other one's out there on the table. They're $10 a piece, okay, if you're interested. We're going to share with you some of what we learned. Since our original presentation, the Affordable Care Act has been implemented. Before its implementation, 7 out of 10 people had insurance for health care. Now, 9 out of 10 do. So, we've come a ways, but not all the way we need to come. Because, in part, it is very complex, with legions of out-of-pocket co-insurance fees, high deductibles, moving targets of in-network providers who overnight become out-of-network, and ever-changing lists of approved drugs. It is a system in progress, not without issues. For example, Allison Chavez, age 36, self-employed and without insurance, was diagnosed with breast cancer. In October 2013, under the ACA, she was able to choose a plan that included her physicians. The following March, in the middle of her treatment, she was notified that several of her doctors and her hospital were leaving her plan. She had to postpone her surgery until she was able to find a plan that did include her doctors. The United States remains one of the very few advanced nations that does not cover everyone. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that there are now 25 million fewer uninsured because of the ACA law, but that leaves 31 million still uninsured, many of them in Maine. And the for-profit insurance companies still call many of the shots. Our service emphasizes the bottom line. Healthcare should be a human right, as Martin Luther King so eloquently put it back in the 60s.
Now it is that time that all the children love, time for all ages, and Carol Larson will lead the children in a story.
One little helper for my story. Who's a good helper? I see this person being voted on. This is an easy helping job. When I get to the part where I say they rang the bell, will you ring the bell for me? Okay, I think that's within your ability to do that. Okay. The story this morning is about a little mouse. This is Marty, and he's a little blue mouse. I've never had a blue mouse before, but I thought he was kind of cute. And Marty lived in a village with all the other little blue mice, with his mom and his dad, and down the street from his grandma. And every day after school, Marty would go down to his grandma's house for cookies and some of Grandma's special lemonade. And one day he was very, very, very cold. And after he left, his grandma said, you know what? I think I need to make a scarf for Marty. So she started knitting, and she knitted. She was in her rocking chair, and she was knitting, and she watched all those shows that the old people do. She watched Ellen and Dr. Phil and all those shows. And finally it was time to go to bed, and she said, I think I've made the scarf long enough, but I can't wait for Marty to come. And the next day he came skipping down the road, and he had his cookies and he had his lemonade, and she said, I have a surprise for you, Marty. I have a new scarf for you. And he took the scarf and he started to wrap it around himself. And he wrapped, 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 and he said, oops, and I just dropped a piece. Oh my gosh, Granny, I look like a mummy. I can't walk, and I can't move my arms. And so she was pretty upset, and she said, oh dear, I wanted this to be for you, to be outside. And he said, well, gee, okay, I can wrap up when I watch TV and whatever. And so she was disappointed, but he went home with his new scarf. Well, winter went by, in the spring and the summer, and later in the fall, a bunch of little blue mice, 3 little blue mice, were coming down the road to go and find nuts, because, you know, mice like nuts. And they had a great big basket, and they were looking at the clouds, and they were looking at the trees. They didn't look where they were going, and they fell into a deep, dark hole. And they were crying, help, help. And pretty soon, another little blue mouse came along, and he stuck his hand down, and he said, oh, gee, I can't reach you, so I guess I better go for help. So we went to the center of town, and they had a bell. And so he said, I guess we have to ring the bell. And they rang the bell, keep ringing, and they rang the bell, and pretty soon from all over the little blue mice came, and they said, oh dear, what are we going to do? And one of the mice said, well, I'm a fireman. I'll get a ladder. And so down he goes, and they put the ladder down in the hole. What do you think? Too short. So they're like, oh dear, what are we going to do? And all of a sudden, Marty had an idea, and he ran home, and guess what he got? His scarf. And he hung the scarf down into the hole, and they tied the basket onto the end, and then all of the little mice helped, and they pulled, and they pulled, and they pulled, and they pulled, and they pulled the 3 little mice and their basket up. And everybody was so happy that they had a nice little picnic with all the nuts from the basket and some of Grandma's lemonade. And everybody had such a lovely time helping each other. They said, well, we're going to have to do this more often, and get together more often. And all that winter, they had little nut parties together with lemonade, and Grandma knitted a whole bunch of scarves that winter, but this time she made all of them the same right length. And everybody was nice and warm that next winter. And thank you for listening.